I suppose I like horses, yeah. There's just something about a horse, as Winston Churchill said, there's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man. I think a lot of people look at me and say, wow, McGuinness did well. A lot of other people would think that I was lucky. Sometimes I look back and I say, I blew that, I made that mistake, I shouldn't have said that, I should have done that. Now, is that failure or is that learning curve? Is that acceptable? And is anybody 100% all the time? No. What really inspires me is God. Six boys, one girl. My dad passed away probably 20 years ago, my mother about 10 years ago. My dad, when I went off and dropped out of college and became a missionary, it was like, whoa. But my mother, she pretty much understood. And so it talked about, you know, you can always come back home. No matter where I was, I always knew I could come back home. You know, my mother was like that. But I probably got a lot of my entrepreneurial, I got it from both my mother's side and my father's side. My grandfather on my mother's side was a self-made guy. Okay, walked into Galway with nothing, ended up owning the biggest bakery in the west of Ireland. Very successful. My grandfather on my father's side, the same thing. He walked into Dundalk from a little village outside town, ended up owning, you know, 2 or 3 substantial businesses in Dundalk. So I believe that I've had a lot of, you know, you have your DNA or whatever it is you want to call it. I really believe that I've had a lot of influence. You know, I'm quite sure there's a spiritual element to that as well. I struggled very much because obviously, you know, I spent, you know, my formative years, my 20s as a missionary. I came back to Ireland, I got into the riding school business, I became a riding instructor, I got in, you know, I hadn't sat on a horse for 10 years, and then I got back into that. Then I realized I wasn't going to make money in that, and I had this idea to make a horse blanket. So who the hell was I to reinvent a whole business, that people have been doing this for hundreds of years, right? But eventually I figured out, wow, these guys are all wrong. Like, I sat down one day and I said to myself, I think a horse blanket should be like this. Everyone else thinks it should be like that. They've been doing it for 100 years. Who the hell do you think you are, McGuinness? Who the hell do you think you are? The whole world is wrong and you're right. And actually, I compromised on the first 100 blankets I made. I made them a little bit bigger than I thought they should be. I got 4 or 5 complaints. I saw where I'd made a mistake. I went back to that same shape. And that was in 1980, probably 84. And it's the same shape that we use today, 40 years later. When I first started off, horse blankets weren't fit for purpose. They didn't work. They fell off. They were dirty. They were made from jute, canvas. They were heavy. They weren't waterproof. They just didn't work. And so I said, you know, if we can send a man to the moon, we can make a better horse blanket, surely. So I just set off on what really was an adventure. I knew there was a demand for them, and nobody was happy with them. I also knew that I had faith. I had faith that I could find a solution. Now, if I had no idea what the extent of the problems were, I had no idea, but I just believed that I would get a solution. I spent most of the time in the car, you know, to find fabrics, to find machinery, and, you know, one by one, I picked off the problems. And eventually I had a blanket that I could guarantee wouldn't fall off
I went to a horse sales with 35 blankets that I had made with my own little hands. They weren't pretty. And I put a big sign up, money back guarantee, 35 quid. Money back guarantee, if these blankets move, I'll give you money back. And I've sold well over 10 million blankets. And horses aren't like dogs. They don't give you that emotional connection. You know, they don't come up to you wagging their tail and go, you know, and they rarely acknowledge you unless you have food. And then I started riding when I was 12. There's something really magical about being with another animal. Now, I know people swim with dolphins and they go whale watching and they train dogs, but you're actually riding. You're actually with another animal. You know, it's not like riding a bicycle.
He's an incredible man in his heart, he's an incredible man in his mind, and he's an incredible horseman. This is the difference to Tom and the other people I know. Tom have the horses in his blood.
So that's why I like it. Also, it was my business as well. I mean, I've built a very successful business around supplying by understanding the needs of horses and riders. So obviously, the more time you spend in that environment, the more ideas you get, the more solutions you get to fix things.
I mean, it took me 5 years to get the company up to like $500,000 turnover. And at that stage then, I came up with another innovation. I had sorted the problem of how the rug would sit on the horse. It was light, it was comfortable, looked great, kept the horse warm, and it didn't fall off. You could wash it, and it was relatively affordable. But it wasn't waterproof. So my big challenge was, how do I get this thing waterproof? Because most of the waterproof treatments at the time were actually where you basically put PVC on a fabric and then you keep the water out, but you keep the sweat in. So it's the same, it's worse. So I tried all kinds of things, and there were ways you can do it, but none of them really worked that well. But I discovered a new process called hydrophilics. So I said, look, give me a few meters of that. So I took it home, made up a little blanket from my daughter's pony Pip. And so I was all excited. I went up, I put the blanket on the pony. I put a big heavy blanket on top of it so it'd be really warm. And I said, right, if I come back in the morning, I put my hand in. If he's dry, it works. If he's sweating, it doesn't. Came back in the morning all excited. Put my hand in and it says, oh my God, it works. I had the design sorted. Didn't fall off. Looked great. Didn't rub the horse, was comfortable. Now I had the waterproofing. So I basically had the whole market to myself for about 5 years. I sent one to a guy in the States, and he gave it to a magazine called Practical Horseman. And the next autumn, or that October, an article came out, a full one-page article that I was embarrassed to read it. It was so good. It was so positive. It says, this is the best thing since sliced pan. It was like amazing. And ever since then, for the next 5 or 6 years, we couldn't make enough. Just, my biggest mistake was I didn't put the price a bit higher. It's great, you know, to meet people and then they, oh yeah, horseware, Tom, oh yeah, yes. No, and I'm famous, like, in our world. Like, if you go down and walk to the stables there, you'll see my product all over the place. It's actually a bit strange, now that I've sold, like, the controlling interest, it's not quite as personal. That's my grandfather on my father's side and his wife. So this is when we adopted Annie. And that's my mother. That's me in Florida. That's Lorraine when she was a baby. And then this is my daughter Annie, riding in Dublin Horse Show. I don't know, this must have been, I don't know, on a little pony we had called Dolly, I think. That must have been, whoa, 20 years, 30 years ago. I have an incredibly curious mind. I'm just very interested in people and things, and it just excites me to discover things, to change things. I know it's a strange thing to say, but I live by faith a lot. Like when I was in my missionary work, I literally lived by faith. We literally were expecting, miracles every day. I've always said to people about running a business was easy compared to what I did when I was doing missionary work. But when you're living by faith, and so few people actually live on the edge like that, it can be very uncomfortable, very difficult, but it's also very rewarding and exciting. I believe I'm not a straight down the line Christian. I am a person who's thinking about the universe. I'm thinking about why. I'm thinking about when. I'm thinking about all those questions because I'm a questioner. I question. All my life I got in trouble by asking questions. We don't own anything. We are in charge. We're like, I don't know what the word it would be. It's borrowed. If you give, really give, something happens inside you. You're happy. It gives you joy. There's so much waste in the world. There's so much pain in the world. We started out actually doing mosquito nets. That was our first thing in Cambodia. So I went down to the market in Phnom Penh, bought a mosquito net for $16. Says, no, what family and poor family living in these huts could spend $16 on a mosquito net? We were making these nets for horses to keep the flies off them. And I just thought to myself, how obscene is this? People are paying $100 for a net for their horse, and whereas that could buy 50 mosquito nets. So we had this campaign which says, right, for every mosquito net, every horse net we sold, we give $2 or $1, depending on which. So next thing you know, I had like $20,000. So I was just thinking, how great is it? I'm here sleeping on my bed, I'm turning over, I'm going to go to sleep, and there's 20,000 families with mosquito nets. Now, isn't that a great thought? Well, first it's important because we were in Cambodia. So we know the people, so you get, it's personal. As well as everything else, it's personal, right? And we've given away millions, we've, built 3 schools in Cambodia, and it's like amazing, because there's all huts around the place. And here are these 3 5-story schools. I mean, there are so many amazing people out there. So many amazing people doing them. Like this girl, Pima Nun, what she's achieved is unbelievable. The first day I went to see her, she was on the dump in Phnom Penh. And the dump in Phnom Penh was one of the most filmed dumps in the world. And then, she rented a little building from the local authority. And then we bought another one. And now we've got 3 huge buildings. We're finishing another one, 5-story jobs. So it's the act of giving that creates this, if you like, liberation and joy. Because if you can't give, what does that mean? It means that you're stuck with that. It's stuck to you. And if it's stuck to you, then it owns you. I like to learn, I like to grow. I suppose I should be, and I'm trying to jettison some stuff, so my life is a bit simpler. And so many things have changed in my life, even in the last 12 months. My life has completely and totally changed. And I believe it's all, and it wasn't like a plan, it just kind of all came together, it just happened. Some really good ones. I've got some great horses now. Oh my God, I got some of the best horses. I only ride good horses now. This is me in Normandy at the World Equestrian Games in Normandy, 2014. Horse called Artista that I bought in Uruguay.
and I really did most of my qualifications on that horse.
10 years ago, he discovered the endurance world and endurance horses, and in this moment is his passion. Tom is different, he's a horseman.
Well, what I like most about endurance riding is that you spend a lot of time with an animal. Like if you're with an animal and you go 100 kilometers or 100 miles, you know, it's Dublin to Belfast in one day. You know, you get to know it, there's a connection, you definitely get to know the animal. And then obviously you've got to be training 2-3 hours a day. So you're actually with another creature and you're communicating, and that creature's much stronger than you are. Much stronger. I mean, if a horse decides to run away, there's no way you can stop him. You know, it's a scary, scary thing. So, and that is the attraction. It's, you know, and originally I started this just so I'd go to the World Games, like. And then I realized, wow, I really like this. And I took it seriously. So every 5 kilometers, they're giving you water, they're throwing water on the horse. When you get into the vet gate, you jump off, they whip off the saddle, you try to get that heart rate down as quick as possible in. Then there's a rest period, and then, you know, someone will be maybe massaging the horse, trying to get him to eat, and basically cooling the legs. So no, it's really a big team thing, yeah. And I've an amazing trainer. Geordie's probably the best. He is the best trainer in the world.
All the people recognized the big effort for Tom, because he have his age, but he loved the sport. He loved work very, very, very hard, and every week he training 3 times, 30 kilometers every day, and this is the reason because Tom is different.
I've won a couple of races, but I've been second, I've been third, I've been fifth, and I've had up the world rankings. I've been 22nd in the world at one stage. Sure, I'd love to win the Europeans or the Worlds, or like I was lying 7th in the World Games in Tryon with 30 kilometers to go when they stopped the race because it was too hot. Like, we had trained for that, we had prepared for that. Everything had gone perfectly. Every single thing that we thought would happen did happen. And then, you know, the officials, you know, decided to pull the plug after, you know, after 140 kilometers. So, in endurance racing, you have a long-term view of things. Its attention to detail is so important in this. So in that way, it's like business. Management is really important, you know, because you've got a lot of different people. You've got the vet, you've got the farrier, you've got the food, a lot of unknowns, a lot of unpredictable stuff. This is the horse I was riding. It's a 6-year-old stallion by Tijani, a very famous endurance stallion. So we have 2 tracks here, one is soft and one is hard. So we always trot the horse just to make sure everything is fine. The horse can't really tell you if he's not feeling good, but he's feeling good. Look at him. Happy horse. You can see the horse is not even tired. He's done 30 kilometers. And you've seen some of the hills he's been up. Powerful horse, huh?
Fabulous. Incredible.
The bottom line is, if a horse gets tired, he stops. It's as simple as that. I mean, he just you know, he stops. So we're not allowed to carry whips. We don't have spurs. You've got to manage. You have so much gas. When you start that race, you have so much gas. And if you want to go at X speed for X distance, and you've got to be able to say, well, I've got enough gas to go at Y. I don't have enough, because when I get to 100 kilometers or 110 kilometers or whatever it is, I go around out of gas. So you have to manage that. And that's really what you're thinking about most of the time when you're doing this. But endurance is an amazing sport. I made a bad mistake on him, and I ended up where he hit the first part of a double on downhill, and he didn't fall, But then he saw the next part. He stopped. I rolled over his head, and I was caught underneath the fence, and he stood on my arm. And I've got 14 screws and 10 inches of steel in here.
If you don't have courage, forget it. Courage. You need courage. Yeah. I've learned to love problems. If you want to be a problem solver, you have to love problems. Just because it's an opportunity. And most people aren't bothering. They're just sitting there, this is terrible, isn't it? That's terrible. They're not saying, well, how can we fix this? So, if you love problems, it's like a surfer with his board running out to the sea. To get the big wave. The waves are problems. Now, someone who's half drowning, a wave's a desperate thing. But if you're a surfer, a wave is an opportunity. It wasn't actually until I read a few books by the likes of Norman Vincent Peale, about the power of positive thinking. I still didn't understand about positive mental attitude. I had positive spiritual attitude, but I didn't have positive mental attitude, or at least I didn't understand how they connected or how they worked together. As I began my business, at the same time, though I started reading those books and I started understanding the principles involved in how you manage your mind, not just your soul. Because if you don't manage your mind, your soul can't work. The spirit can't work, because the mind is where the two kind of meet. I met Jesus when I was 20, and I had experienced loneliness. But since I met Jesus and Jesus came to live in me, I've never been alone. I can honestly say that I've never felt alone in 50 years. So I have 4 ponies here in Barcelona. I don't really take it too seriously. I'm more really interested in the endurance. The endurance I could do. It doesn't really cost me. This polo, it's amazing here. You can see I don't miss the ball, but in the game it's different. When you're going, you don't have time to think. Other people are coming at you. You have to kind of either get in their way or out of their way, one or the other. So you have to be making up your mind all the time. But I love polo because it's a team sport. So it's not dependent on you. A lot of times I'll play a really good game and I won't touch the ball. I'll just block the other guy. This is Calandria, 9-year-old from Argentina. Amazing pony. Really amazing. She's fast, she's light, she turns, and she loves me. She loves me, but she wants to go back into the stable to get her grub. I always seem to be biting off more than I can chew. I'm always in a hurry. I'm always going that. And I got away with a lot of that when I had a big company with 700 employees, Well, I kind of had to focus a bit more because I'm doing a lot of stuff, so I'm focusing on sensors. To know what the heart rate is and to get it into the vet is really important. So we've come up with this product. So it's horsepower. It comes with a belt, and it comes with a handheld monitor. It takes the heart rate for between 6 and 8 seconds, and it calculates, and then it takes the average. So you're getting an accurate reading. I think every vet's going to have one of these. When you look inside, and you have to deal with yourself, you have to know yourself. I mean, it's important to know who you are. There's a big difference between, feeling you're a failure and failing, because we all fail. You can't really have happiness if you don't have peace. Peace is a mixture of contentment. There's a huge difference between being content and being satisfied. Happiness should be natural to us. It's a natural thing to be happy. But you have to work at it. It's like growing a flower. It's like harvesting fruit. You have to plant it, you have to grow it, and you have to take care of it. You have to water it. And so, yet no one ever teaches. We're not taught in school how to be happy. We're not taught that you can actually improve your mental state just by thinking in a certain way and doing certain things and avoiding some things. I mean, the amount of junk that people put into their bodies is bad, but the amount of junk that people are putting into their minds is just unbelievable. You know, showing me a lot about riding ponies and horses, and I've had a great 10 years of playing polo, but now I got to go back to work. I got to go back to work. So I'm going to spend the next 10 years of my life putting out the books. I've got 4 books written. I've never really had a chance to really, you know, promote them, and that's what I'm going to do now for the next 10 years. I think it's really important for people to celebrate the moment. You know, it's not wait until the very end. It's really important. It's almost like, you know, you're on this journey and there's these little waypoints, these little overlook. You know, you're driving along, there's a place to stop and look at the view. When I get to a certain point in anything I'm doing, anything, I always stop and I celebrate.